How about this, folks? Bright and early. Knowles Live Talk. Woo! 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Clear the cobwebs. Get ready. Get set. Leave those comments and questions in the live chat. Fire it up here with, of course, Logan Robinson there at the bottom. Knoll Game Day. Big game, James Coleman getting in his steps up top. James, how we doing today?
I'm good, man. It's about to start raining over here, so I gotta get it in while I can.
Tell us about the mission.
Well, I'm stupid competitive in everything that I do, and my friends decided we wanted to do a 50-mile challenge, the first to 50, and I had the combine and a whole bunch of other stuff, so I was slightly behind. So now I gotta catch. I'm winning now, but now I gotta blow them out because it's supposed to rain. I might not be able to walk or run. So
next time you get a little competitive challenge, you may want to rope me in. I need somebody to kick me in the tail to get me going, because otherwise, it's get the reps in at the gym, and if I want to, I've been here for 40 minutes. That's enough. Go home. No, you need that extra push. You need that number to try to hit something like that. Absolutely. Good stuff. Logan, how we doing today?
Doing fantastic. I was just about to say, James, I know James has been walking a lot, running a lot. I could tell. I saw him at the practices. I'm like, damn, might slim him down from fullback to running back here in a few weeks. Damn. Okay. But we're doing good, Mark. It's been a busy week with spring football jumping off. Florida State landed a commit, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a few, but busy last couple of days, really. But it's flying by. We're already on to day 3 of spring practice later this afternoon. So that's probably why the people are asking why we're doing this so early. Florida State decided to mess up our weekly show schedule here, so we have to do these in the morning for a little while.
I would say, Logan, you have the one-on-one with Mike Norvell, but I think James has a little bit more pull. Maybe he can let him know, hey, Voice of College Football needs his Florida State talk on Wednesday at 6 Eastern. But, hey, we can be flexible. If it's going to improve Florida State football and get past 5 wins this year, we can make some accommodations.
Please.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to this D tackle. And again, one more time, everybody, leave the comments and questions in the live chat. Also, keep in mind that Logan and I have gone through the offense and the defense, and those position previews are in the process of being posted. So most of them are up there from the offense. We did the defense this week, so check them out. All right, D tackle Keith Sampson, and you guys have a pretty decent read on this guy from talking to his family. 28th rated position, ranking at D tackle, number 201 in the country. He's a 4-star, 4th rated player in the state of North Carolina, James.
Yeah, actually, you know what? The cool thing about this is when Bobby used to recruit, and same thing with Jimbo, when we went out of state, we weren't getting the 38th or the 50th ranked player. So the fact that he's ranked so high in the state of North Carolina, that's just showing you kind of where this recruiting is coming, going and turning, and people are seeing the right things. But great young man, still a ton of upside, still developing. We saw him, and you can kind of still see he's got a little bit of baby fat. But then I saw his daddy. His daddy's a large mammal, so we know that his mom has got some good height too. So you can still get a guy that can come in and possibly give you some reps, but he's still going to be able to develop to where in the next 3 to 4 years he could be a playmaker. So you need some depth there. You haven't really been hitting it as far as recruiting, but shout out to Odell for getting on the board.
Yeah, Odell gets him one. We got to speak with him after his visit, and then also got to be there, and James invited me to his NIL panel and got to learn a lot more, but got to see Sampson there too, and he was all smiles, excited. He was eating a lot of that food too, James. I hope you noticed that. He had like 3 plates that night, but it was, you could definitely tell dad, big guy, really nice. Got to speak with him for a little bit afterwards, after y'all spoke on the panel, and young Sampson definitely seems excited. And, he's had multiple visits, talking to his dad and saying, they had visited Ohio State. They had been at other big time powerhouse schools, but, Florida State. And really, I think this is Odell. This was an Odell grab all the way. And we talked with him in our interview, and he said, and a quote that first I kind of had it set in my mind yesterday, basically the history and watching practice today on how Coach Odell was working with the guys. Coach Norvell, he is just good, man. Him and Coach Higgins, those two, they're both really been my main two guys I've been talking to. So he got to see in person and got to see Odell and be around him and be around a practice. And there was a lot of good energy that whole weekend. James and I will talk about when we get into the practices, but you had former Noles, including James. You had a Leroy Butler. You had a ton of guys that are currently in the NFL here too, like PJ Williams. You also had Asante Samuel Jr. So there was a lot of good energy, and I had a feeling someone would pop. But Sampson says, let's go. And, we're starting to see a trend now. Florida State working really hard in the trenches, James, it seems like, because, they've got to build some depth there at defensive line. It's a must. And there's a lot of guys out there that Florida State's after. And I think a majority of that top tier talent, those guys are defensive linemen, even getting some 5-stars in here too. So trenches are a big need for FSU, and they're doing a good job of getting guys in here. And, well, one popped on last Saturday.
Yeah, that's Keith Sampson, 26 offers. The most recent ones coming in from Auburn, Notre Dame, and Maryland, an Alabama offer as well. You mentioned the Ohio State trip as well as South Carolina just a couple weeks ago, and play some hoops like most of these guys do as well, and a little discus in track and field. So Keith Sampson, defensive lineman, top 300 player, top 4 player in the state of North Carolina in the full for 2023. All right, James, we'll get back to you in regards to a visit out to spring practice, and what hit you first and foremost.
Well, the first thing that I'm always doing when I'm going out here is I got to look to see if these guys belong. I mean, they've been pretty small. They've had guys that were big and that look like they can do stuff, and those are the guys they leaned on. But across the board, top to bottom, you haven't really seen that in the last couple of years. And, boy, let me tell you this. Coach Storm's been working the boys. Because when I walked out there, I'm like, okay, this guy looks like he could play. He could have played when I played, or this guy looks like he might have been able to play when I played. And just in the places where we need it. I'll skip offensive line because we still need a little bit more depth there. But when I'm looking at the defensive line, I'm looking at the ends. One kid that really stood out, Quayshawn Fuller. Like, he was I hate to disrespect the kid, but he was a little fluffy little thing when he first came in. He's looking like a grown man now. He's got man muscles and looks good, looks the part. You got guys like Josh Farmer. I posted a picture on Facebook when I first met him as a recruit. He was 260 pounds and looked side by side, good size. We look similar. Took a picture with him on Saturday. I ain't a small man. That little boy made me look tiny, man. I had to tell him, little boy, you got to back up a little bit. You're getting a little bit too big for me. So you see stuff like that, and it kind of makes you be like, okay, we're developing guys, we're trending. And what I was afraid of is when you lose a guy like Jermaine Johnson, like, what are you going to do? But then I looked at the defensive ends. I'm like, okay, McClendon looks good. He looks like he could be a pass rush specialist. He's gotten more physical, more developed. Verse, he came in. But even a kid like Hester, who from Jacksonville, Florida, I wasn't really the highest on him, but like seeing him and how his body's adapted, those are the things that you notice. And that's the first thing. And then the speed of practice and people bouncing around, getting to where they know. I made a comment that everybody, so the people who are really, really super pro Mike Norvell took it one extreme. The people who are negative said, come on. But my thing is that's the best that they've looked in the last 5 years. If practice one. Mm-hmm. Not saying we went in the natty, but practice one, we haven't looked that good in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you saw a lot of depth there, kind of all around, and it goes to show you had a good handful of transfers along with those early enrollees, man. I mean, it absolutely stomps on last year's class of getting some good double handful of these early enrollees and getting them in the fold. And, that helps a ton with guys like Duffy, who as a true freshman quarterback, and he just looks comfortable. He doesn't look antsy. He's up there listening. He's, there's going to be mistakes made, but he looked fluid. There's not going to be a competition for a starting job, in my opinion, this spring, no matter what. But there's definitely a job for that QB2 spot. I think that's what Duffy has in his mental, and that's how it should be. But the biggest thing that I took away from Duffy is just the comfortable, and him being able to connect with a few of the wide receivers. And, there's still some things where he's learning and getting some reads down. We saw on this last practice on Monday afternoon, just some things where he's, kind of had that freshman day of, man, getting these reads down. It's a little bit different, definitely a little bit different when you have Jared Verse coming off the side with extreme speed, McClendon too, who I think is, it might be a killer this upcoming year. It's a little bit different pace for him, so he's kind of getting used to that. But it's the biggest sign to me of just seeing how comfortable he is in that system, and you can tell that he's been doing a great job and hearing good things about him and learning installs and going through the playbook. He's there. He's got the mentals. He's got the smarts to do it. So that's a really good sign. But I'm not waiting. I'm waiting until today. Today, the shells come on. So now we can really start reporting on these offensive linemen, these defensive linemen. And, James knows it too. I don't like talking too much about them until there's pads on. They're wearing jerseys right now and stuff on their shoulders. I don't give a damn if a block is happening here, or running back's got a hole, whatever. I want to see pads come on and see how these guys work, because there's a lot of competition on this offensive line. There's a lot of guys, but, there's some competition at center right away. I mean, there's even Bless Harris coming in too, that is going to shake up some things on that line that, Coach Atkins has a lot to work with, which is a really good thing. And you still got hopefully 3 more in total coming in the summer. So, I'm really excited to see how these left tackles, these right tackles go at it with these DNs who are going to have a serious competitive spring. I think Coach Norvell talked about it on Monday afternoon, saying, I'm going to wait till these shells come on and really see the competitiveness that will come with this defensive end group. And, you've got serious problems on the inside too for these offensive linemen. I can't wait for Caden Lyles versus Robert Cooper, even Maurice Smith going against Fabian Lovett. I mean, that's not even like a fair advantage. Maybe Caden Lyles and Lovett, but, Maurice, a little bit more of a smaller center. There's a lot of things going to be going on in the trenches. And I love watching Coach Odell coach on the field. That's just kind of old school coaching. And I just really, I like coaches that will tell you straight up that you're effing up or you're screwing up. And that's what he's done with Farmer, who's a really young defensive lineman here, who I think Coach Odell just loves to death. And, there's a lot of hope for that freshman in the 44 jersey to get going. So it's been a solid start to spring. It's been a solid start, Mark.
Hey, James, something you said leads me into this one. When you play for an elite program like Florida State once was, when you were there and you played for top 10 teams, I got to think that you were going to practice every day knowing, I know what we've got. I know what this practice is going to look like. And every practice looked almost the same in regards to effort, execution, guys getting after it. Every practice looked almost the same in terms of it not being like great one day, then the next day. And I got to think that Florida State's in kind of this place where at 5-7 this last year, they've not been a good football team, but they've got a lot of talent in spots that I got to think that their practices have been pretty uneven for a number of years.
Yeah, like for example, like today, and probably the first couple of days, the defense should be ahead of the offense anytime that you start. Defense is instinctual, fly around, hit somebody. All you need is one person to do something right, and it's going to go well. Offense, you typically need all 11 on the same page, but what happens is we haven't had the ability to have the competition. So just think about it like this. When I came into Florida State, just the running back room alone, Greg Jones, I apologize. Nick Maddox played in the NFL, got picked up by the Carolina Panthers. Greg Jones played in the NFL for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a year. Willie Reed got drafted, played running back. Leon Washington, Lorenzo Booker, a guy people don't really know, Thomas Clayton, who ended up transferring to Kansas State, played in the NFL. Me, BJ Dean, both of us were on squads for our rookie seasons. Like, it's just talent after talent You can't slip. If you don't bring it, they're gonna pull your ass and put somebody else in, and you're never gonna see your position again. That was everywhere, and that was just from recruiting, from building a standard, and having expectations. So I think right now you're getting a chance in year 3, which has always been my statement, is the money year for a coach. Don't fire a coach before year 3 because you don't know what you got. But right now, you can kind of see that Mike has the guys who are here. And I had a conversation with Kalen DeLoach. I said, "Hey, how is practices going? How do you feel about coach?" He's like, "Well, he's not yelling at us as much. He's not in our throats because we know what to expect." So it's not like Mike is calmed down by no means. Mike is still a freaking Energizer bunny all over the place. But you don't have to cuss out kids for jogging as much because they know you got to be on the hop to the next thing. So between that competition, like, this is the deepest the wide receiver room has been. I remember having a conversation with Dugans, and he was just like, JC, everybody's coming after me, but I didn't recruit this room. There's only a couple of my guys. So now when you see Johnny Wilson, you see, was it Micah Pittman, the kid with the evaporating hairline?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. You see some of these guys that are coming in and they're ready to play. They're plug and play guys. Deuce Spain, who probably can develop a little bit more on top of your Burrells and McLeans and all these other guys. For the first time, it's not I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna talk to the coach. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do because he needs me. Nah, buddy. You do that now, you're gonna find yourself, like, not to call anybody out, you're gonna find yourself making sub IG posts like Javaris Brownlee at corner. Now that they didn't brought in a bunch of good corners. So you're either gonna get down or you're gonna lay down. And I think that's the thing that Florida State hasn't had in a long time. So will it transfer to wins? Who knows? But I do know this. They was flying around a lot better than I've ever seen them do.
No offense to anyone, but the show officially starts now.
Yep.
Jason's here.
Well, we run on Miami Standard Time, which is 20 minutes late, so that's right.
Jason, what's going on today?
Not much.
These are the new headquarters we see for the Florida State Seminoles live show every Wednesday.
Yeah, if you think I'm coming back here at 6 o'clock every Wednesday, you're out of your mind.
No, we expect you to build that out at your house. That's
then maybe let me get some of that Mark Rogers money, and then we'll be good to go.
Sure. Absolutely.
That background's wild.
I'm just saying, it's almost like it's real life. It's almost like
like the green screen. They've gotten better with those green screens. I got to be honest.
Technology's amazing in 2022. I mean, look, James is actually just standing. He's walking on his treadmill right now in his room now, but he's got the outside looking great right now.
Yeah, that's all green screen up there at the sky.
Wearing that ugly green and orange. Let's
figure
out what that's all about there.
One, before I ever saw a Florida State game, I was literally damn near born on FAMU's campus, which is the only orange and green.
Good.
And my son's godfather coaches at Mandarin High School, so I'm representing Mandarin High School. I would never be caught dead in a sugar canes gear.
Good, because you were raised right. Exactly.
James even gave it a little dark cloud look behind him, just to
Yep.
Make it look realistic.
And yet
trees and everything.
And yet Logan is in the same spot he's in every single week. He's got the light up back there. Logan, what's behind you? What's behind your right shoulder there?
There's a thing. My roommate, he does it every time. He's a big supporter, so he always frames something whenever we do something. So he's got me a pretty cool frame, but I need to hang these. But the thing is, I got to get them. They got to be low down here. So,
right.
But you're right. I am stuck in here about 90% of my day, sadly. But I do get outside sometimes.
Good.
Like at practice later.
Jason, these two are telling me that this team looks meaner. They look tougher. They look stronger. They've hit the weights. They look like a real football team, like a real Florida State football team.
Good, because the last 5 seasons hasn't been a real Florida State football program. So I hope that Logan and James are correct. I 100% believe in what Logan and James have to say. And let's just put it this way. It can't get much worse than it's been the last 5 seasons. We'll go with that angle.
Let's go with this angle as well.
Thank you, Dog. Thank you. Jason does actually have a real job. The one out of the group who has the real job right here. Exactly.
There we go.
I think he just, I think he was out like at Publix and he just stumbled into some kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah.
ad agency or insurance office and just took a seat and nobody's bothering him.
You know what? If you act like you belong somewhere, people don't ask questions.
Yes. That's what George Costanza did, right? He just grabbed an office and set up and
Absolutely.
there you go.
Did you want to go over those players, Mark?
Absolutely. I want to hear who's impressing.
Yeah, so there's some guys jumping out that I am a little in shock about. I probably start off with number one, and James definitely has some too. I know that he was tweeting at the practice. Number one to me so far has got to be I was like completely in shock of so far. It's got to be Johnny Wilson, the Arizona State wide receiver. I think he's been the best transfer so far. It's only been 2 practices. There haven't been any pads on, and I think things change a little bit with shoulder pads for wide receivers. I might be wrong with Wilson, but I mean, the contested grabs that he's been doing, we're talking 80% of the balls that he's caught, and I haven't seen him drop a ball, at least a good thrown ball to him. I haven't seen one drop from him yet. I mean, these balls got DBs on him, holding on to him, just dragging with them, and he's making the grabs on the sideline, getting a foot in. I wrote down in my notes on Monday that he had a back-to-back catch in a row on a one series, and I'm extremely impressed. You know, I was hearing some certain things during tour of duty. He was getting acclimated to that, so a little tough going, kind of like how McLean was last year and was hearing the same thing, but seems like a switch was made, bought in, and, you know, his body looks good. He doesn't move like a 6'7" guy. He moves like he's a 6'2", and it's really impressive. He's got great size, and he's making some snags, and I'm kind of I'm just in shock there. I didn't really expect this, and I'd say number 2 right now has got to be Azare Thomas. You know, I was high on him definitely whenever Florida State was able to land him, and I think Florida State fans, you know, were all caught up with the Travis Hunter stuff, as you know, I think everybody was. But this is a stud coming in, and you know, watching him leave the practice on Monday and getting an actual good look at him up close and personal. That guy has the frame of Jalen Ramsey. I'm not saying he's going to be a Jalen Ramsey, but he has the frame as like Jalen did whenever he was in 2013. I put that in our observations piece. He looks good. He's had back-to-back interceptions in both practices so far, and he just looks good. He puts himself in the right position. He's understanding the assignment. There's still some plays where he's getting beat, yes, but so far for a true freshman as an early enrollee in the start of spring to be doing this, the staff loves it. Coach Woodson, Coach Norvell, always giving him some praise during practice. I'd say those two at least guys that, you know, newcomers impressing early. Man, Wilson and Azare Thomas, some good stuff so far from them.
Logan, question for you. Obviously, through the first couple of practices, you mentioned some of the guys who you've liked to see so far. Which players have surprised you the most, and which players do you think have also had the most to do, have the most work left to do at this point?
I think, well, number one surprise is definitely Wilson there. That was my surprise guy right there. Another surprise one, maybe Rodney Hill. I didn't expect James. You saw him. We both see him up close, but he looks a lot different than how he did as a recruit. He's put on some serious size. I don't know what Coach Storms has done with him, but he's put on some size, but he's explosive. He might be, with him and Ward, I think might be the most explosive cats there. I mean, Rodney has some really strong potential. If you go back and look at his highlights too, he wasn't facing great competition, and that's why he wasn't rated so high. But I mean, he put on shows every Friday night he was putting on shows. But I think it's guys that need some more work to do. I think Greedy Vance is one defensive back transfer from Louisville. I think that there's definitely some work there for Vance to do. I think that, you know, out of all the DBs, I think, you know, guys are in their groove. It's kind of 50-50 right now with wide receivers and DBs making plays, but I think Greedy Vance definitely needs to get into a groove here. We'll see this Wednesday if he can flip something. James, what do you think of a guy that kind of has surprised you or impressed you early since camp started?
James, you got us?
Did we lose James?
Might have lost James.
Did the headphones go out?
That must be it. That's what he had to get worked on before we started to go live here. Yeah, Greedy Vance. I forgot about Greedy Vance. 36 tackles at Louisville last year.
Yeah, it's been a rough start for spring. That's why you have spring, so you can work on these things. But I think it's just getting adjusted. I mean, like I said, these wide receivers, and there's no knock on these other transfer wide receivers. I think Deuce is still understanding the system. That's still a project guy too, that we all need to understand. That's a project wide receiver. But man, the size, he kind of has that Tamarion Terry size to him too, and he's got the speed, the length. But Johnny Wilson by far, I think him and Pittman are levels ahead, but we haven't really seen Winston Wright yet full blast. We do see him returning kicks in the early 3 periods. So hopefully, once he's fully ready to rock, I'm interested to see him because, loving what I'm seeing from Johnny Wilson. He's going to be a legitimate threat. I mean, McLean, like I said, last year, I'm expecting him to be a starter day one, like he was last year in the middle, almost week 3 going into the rest of the season. McLean, Johnny Wilson, those are ridiculous red zone threats. Not even red zone threats, but Wilson, whenever he did those back-to-back catches, those were down the middle. Fantastic grabs, 1 on the sideline, then 2 back-to-backs down the middle. I mean, Johnny Wilson is I'm in shock. I didn't see this coming. I really didn't, and he won the day for me on Monday.
What about Mark's best friend, quarterback Jordan Travis? What have we seen from Jordan so far? The man who I think Mark has already launched his Heisman Trophy campaign for 2022. I think Mark's already got the publications ready to be released.
James,
yeah, we're going to start doing a special edition 1 hour just Jordan Travis live stream each and every week. Jordan Travis live.
I like it.
As soon as Jason, you can kick in with a little NIL money.
I'm just saying we can do this, man. I think you add it to the 12,000th show you do every Wednesday, so we can do that.
I think what guys got to realize is this, man. They missed. I mean, what do you want to do? It's like you're either going to develop them, get better talent around them, or we're going to just cry about it. Jordan Travis is the quarterback. Duffy's not there yet to be able to push him. And for the love of God, he's probably going to be a great coach one day, phenomenal person, and maybe even run for office. But we don't want Tay Rodemaker on that football field. Like it's just not going to end well. But like I think what Logan just brought up with the wide receivers is like for the first time, like who has been the dominant receiver that Florida State has had? We can't name one. So we can talk about who throws them the ball, but who the hell is he going to throw to? I mean, I was
last one I saw.
My kid was just on this earth.
I was in high school.
One of my sons who was at practice the other day, his first memories of life was watching Rashad Green help win a national championship. This kid is damn near grown now. He's wiping his own butt now. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of things have changed. So if you could get guys open, like actually to bring up Johnny Wilson. So I have to talk about the NFL draft, and I told everybody about the safety from Notre Dame and how he made a play never seen happen before. You're not supposed to be able to get an interception from the back hash on an out route. Well, now Jordan Travis throws that up to the moon. You know who's going to get it? Johnny Wilson. We didn't have a 6'6", 6'7" guy that could jump and had body control like that last year. We didn't have a Micah Pittman who could go run the intermediate routes that could be explosive like that. We didn't have that to couple with McLean and with some of these other guys. So I think a little bit of improvements on the offensive line with some more talent at wide receiver. Who knows? Now, I think Kenny Dillingham was drunk when he told me this, but he said if we could get average talent around Jordan Travis, he could be a Heisman candidate. I think that's taking it to the extreme, but I do think that you can see some good things. And I think after they let everything settle, a couple more guys decide that they need to hit the transfer portal, maybe open up some scholarships, you'll be able to see they'll probably go and find a transfer portal quarterback to come in and provide some more depth. But right now, it is what it is. But the most impressive person that I saw, how do you say that name, Logan? I just say the biblical name. Yeah, he sounds like one of them Old Testament names.
The cheat code is AT. Just say AT.
He, like, I have friends in Niceville tell me that he's good. But, like, just seeing it, like, his understanding of what they're trying to have him do on defense, because they're doing a lot of different, they're mixing up coverages a lot, which I thought was kind of sexy. There's one coverage I'm not going to speak on it too much, but I like it because it's confusing and it baits quarterbacks. But even him one-on-one, Jordan Young actually beat him off the line. And he didn't give up, found the pocket, used his speed to bail, to make up for it, and he strips the ball from him, gets the interception. The athleticism, the wherewithal, like we've seen guys just quit in the last couple of years. They get burnt. They're letting guys from Jacksonville State score Hail Marys on them when they're in perfect position to even make a tackle or even get a pass interference. But you see this guy. Now, another person who shocked me because, again, and I had to go up to Coach Storms. I said, hey, Coach, tell me the truth. This is just me and you talking. You gave this young man the needle, didn't you? He was like, hey, kid want to win. He going to do it by any means necessary. But was it Omarion Cooper? That's it, Omarion Cooper. Cooper got pipes. Like he looks the part. So, but I'm looking at the DBs, and I'm like, okay, we got some guys that ain't just happy with being on the field. That ain't really looking for NIL deals. They're looking for NFL deals. So that means they're trying to play. They're trying to compete, and that's only going to make your receivers better. So my observation from Saturday's practice was first, I was like, damn, I don't know if we're any good because can't nobody get open. Monday's practice was a little bit better, but you just see guys like that's where you got to win. That competition right there. That's what's going to sell clicks and subscriptions. But like when you're watching practice in shorts, you can't see the line, but we can tell not much changes with wide receivers and DBs and in the throwing stuff. Not much changes when it comes to that. But Thomas and McClendon will be the two guys that kind of stood out. And I'm not knocking Lloyd Willis at all because, again, what he's done to his body, he looks like an Alex Barron. He looks like an NFL left tackle. But, man, when people were writing about how he was one of the good players, I'm like, they didn't see one-on-one pass rush. And McClendon put him in the blender, which was shocking because I didn't know McClendon changed his number. I'm like, I'm looking at what transfer is number 9? Is that Verse? I thought Verse was 5.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, that's McClendon. I'm like, oh, okay. Because McClendon, again. Oh, and then Kalen DeLoach. So it's funny, McClendon and Kalen DeLoach, 2 years ago, the fan base was ready for them to transfer out. They wanted those guys gone. But now, these are going to be the two of the guys that we're going to have to rely heavily on defense. I mean, Kalen DeLoach was out there in 11 on 11 and 7 on 7, calling the defense, getting people lined up, which is a far cry from what I remember him a couple years ago.
Anyone else feel like James is making us all look bad by working out right now while we're on this call? Does anyone else feel this way? Like we're all sitting down here being lazy and James is out there working, trying to survive, live another day.
I do feel bad. I am. I'm after this, we're going to go hit the gym. We're going to do some shoulders.
Well, I'm here for the first quarter of it, but unfortunately I have to get back to work. I know the fans are going to miss me.
They are.
Guys, don't worry. Next week at 6 o'clock, when we actually do this, I promise I will be back. I told Mark I would try to make it today. Yes.
More importantly, we are going to miss you. So.
Yeah.
If I had to rank the three of you that I'm going to miss in order, it would probably be James 1.
And then he's got it. He knocked out the
first
one real quick.
That was easy.
Because I know I'm screwed either way.
Now it's the lesser of two evils. Now
I know I'm screwed either way. I'm going to probably go with Mark because he's the one who lets us in this room.
Oh yeah.
So he gets the number 2, and then Logan number 3. Mostly because Logan looks like he's about to abandon us and go somewhere else.
Where am I going?
Have we spilled any beans on that one?
Where? Oh, this back here?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that is out. That's publicized.
Okay.
We've got that rocking, and if you like Bucks news, then head on over to bucksgameday.com over there with that site.
Why?
Hey, I got my first feel of the NFL stuff yesterday,
okay.
And I got to say, sign me up. Me up. The pros are a little bit different than here in college football. I like it.
I told you, it's so much different than covering college, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm liking the numbers. The numbers are good.
If they start Finn's game day.
That's right. Yeah, Jane.
You didn't hear that, guys. No one heard that.
Oh yeah, tell him. All right, Jason.
See you on there.
Thanks, Jason. We'll see ya.
Good green screen. I wanted to mention too. There's a couple other things that we saw at the practice. James, you noticed it too. That video board that they're using. So they'll use it primarily for those one-on-one battles between wide receivers and DBs, and they have like an 8K, not a 4K, but we're talking 8K camera video board that they can roll around practices, and the person up in the tower and Bobby's tower up there is shooting down video, and they're doing replays about 5 seconds after every play. So if you're a DB, you getting burnt or you got your ankles took and broke, then you get to also watch it 5 seconds afterwards and then have the coaches say, this is why you got your blank broke right here, or this is what you need to do a little bit better. But I think that's a really cool thing that probably Alfred has been able to bring in some money and help out the coaching staff. They're trying to stay ahead tech-wise. And, I mean, I'm like looking left and right too, James, and I swear, I mean, all of the support staff is starting to grow. I mean, these practices last fall are a whole lot different. I don't know if it's probably too because of all the newcomers too, but there's a lot more people at these practices. And I know there was recruits in town and such, but we've got former guys like James in the house, and just a handful of other people that'll come swing by, a lot of boosters and such. But the support staff, you're seeing general manager, guy Yang,
Bruce Warwick.
Yeah.
Warwick.
Yep. And then a ton of more that I'm trying to like get all their names rattled in my head, but there's a lot of support staff also at these practices too, and it's pretty impressive on what Norvell has wanted to do. And he talked about in the introductory press conference last Friday at the luncheon and saying that it goes to show we've got to keep up, we've got to stay ahead, and building those off the field staff members is huge. I know my guy Corey Fuller too is over there on the support staff too, off field, helping out in recruiting ops. I think Maddie, I believe, was just announced publicly yesterday too. Obviously has some ties and being able to help the recruiting side. And I might have said her name wrong, and I'll be completely pissed off. But I think it's Maddie. Might be wrong on that. I'll look for it. But yeah, just a lot more people at these practices, and it's a whole event now, man. It's pretty wild.
Let me tell you this too. They do a really good job of, and like I said, I noticed it because I had an unofficial class of 2033 commit. James Coleman III was out there, but what the coaches do is they do a good job of identifying people who are either don't look like they belong or aren't normally there, and they'll take the time to talk. My son, you can't tell him nothing. Every coach talked to him. Every coach dapped him up. They all, they talk very highly of him. A lot of the support staff as well. Charity is somebody who I don't think gets enough credit for what she's able to do. As far as, she had a couple of recruits that she was hosting as well. It's Charity Grady. I want to make sure I say her name correctly, give her those props. But the amount of guys that came back, but it's not even necessarily, not the guys, it's who came back. Like, I haven't seen Everett Brown in years. And he was a young guy when I was there. Played for the Carolina Panthers. He was able to go chop it up with a few of the defensive ends, which I think is awesome and necessary. But, and Logan, you could do the research on this, but what we have at Florida State is a bunch of guys who are really, really smart ball players. Everybody knows who Myron Rolle is. David Castillo, he's a doctor as well. But the guy who runs the biggest hospital in Tallahassee is a former Florida State football player. I've only heard of him. I'd never met him before. I didn't meet him until Saturday. And that just shows you what Mike Alford's doing. He's going out here finding these names of these guys who have been successful, obviously in football, but outside of football, and he's making sure those guys are known. Like, their presence is welcome. I mean, from a money perspective, that's a big thing. But from a perspective of recruiting, hell, you could be a smart ball player come to Florida State. Last time I checked, we one of the few schools with two Rhodes Scholars in athletics. So, I mean, that's just stuff that I noticed. And it was really, really, again, real good energy. Very, I brought my son's grandfather was out there. he's a Panamanian man that barely speaks English. They made him feel like he was welcome as well. So I think those are the little things. And Coach Norvell has this saying. I'm sure everybody says it, but I heard it from him. I'm going to give him props for it. Not only did he come up with the standard over everything that I make money from, but he says how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you can make everybody there feel welcome, that means recruiting, once we get the wins, will enhance exponentially, because that's all that is. It's just recruit. Raising money, recruit. Getting the top athletes, recruit. Wins and losses help either enhance or detract that. But if you got a good foundation and everybody's on board doing that, you can see the success.
Very cool. Very cool background stuff right there. I like to hear that. Good stuff right there from James and Logan. It's a good time to stop down here and find where we can find these two. So, James, where can people find you?
At Big Game James _36 on Twitter and Instagram. Fifth Quarter College Football, SportsDen _live. Those are the different things. Check me out for, I guess, if you like Jags coverage or NFL coverage, you like no coverage, and you like randomness. Also, athletic little kids. I tend to post my sons a lot more than I post my FSU right now. But that'll change here coming soon now that we got stuff going on.
Good stuff. This is the reason why I tell everybody every week, you not only subscribe, you got to hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, because bam, 8 hours early. Here we are, Logan. What do you got going on?
We're enjoying this last little week. We'll have our show on 8:30 this week. We'll be recapping this wild last couple of days and over the weekend and the start of spring on Thursday at 8:30 over on our channel. And then we've got a lot of content coming from practices, spring practice observations, and a whole wide range of content over there. So we're trying to give you guys some good stuff before spring break next week, which Florida State will have a break from, and I'll also have a break from. So I'm looking forward to doing all kinds of stuff the next couple of weeks in this camp. And so far, so good. It's been fun covering it. And I think there's a lot more to be said with some of these players too, like, Trey Benson, who, I mean, damn, I'm all right then. I did not know that he was the fastest. Okay, then. All right. He comes from Oregon. Everybody. So, Mark, this guy comes from Oregon, transfers over. The FSU fan base absolutely hates it. Absolutely not a fan. There's definitely some things health concern wise with leg and, just a brutal thing. Some thinking that it's, on the range of Mackenzie Milton and what he went through. But, a lot of reports of things, hamstring, knee, calf, everything. He shows up to spring camp. I'm like, damn, okay, what in the world? He's got the size and everything. Then we see him on Monday have an explosive play up the middle, James, and he's gone. Even though there's no pads, there's nothing. There's no pads, let's be honest. But there was only one DB that was probably going to get him. Maybe a linebacker that was there that had a potential. But meeting this guy in the second level isn't going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. And I think Kalen Deloge talked about it after practice on Monday and said, yeah, that's a guy I'm looking out for. I'm looking forward to hitting him, but that's one player that's going to be a little bit different than Trayshawn Ward maybe coming, or definitely Lawrence Tola-Philly, baby 9. Trey Benson's going to hit a little bit different. So I'm number one, at least today, what I'm looking forward to watching is some guys with some pads on. And that's probably going to be Trey Benson. And if he can find a hole, I'm interested to see who wants to come up and contact that, because he's got some serious size on him, Mark, and been impressive so far. He's gotten a lot of burn with the ones, too. We saw in the first 3 periods, got some burn with the ones.
Quite a few folks in the chat are bringing up Jarvis Brownlee, defensive back, both on the NIL side, but also on the playing side, that he's going to have to step up.
Well, you got to be at practice to step up. I didn't notice him. I mean, if he's there, I just didn't pay attention. But here's Here's what I tell people about NIL. Win games, you get NIL. Nobody's investing in the loser. Yeah, I mean, if you only try asking for podcast subscriptions with only 50 people listen to your podcast. Like, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, Florida State is a brand that has proven itself that when you do something, it will help. So, like, perfect example. Let's look at Jordan Travis, the 4th and 14 line that he dropped after he beat Miami. I think they made $30,000 in 1 month. Now, it's probably waned a little bit, but you know why? It was an iconic play for that season. You won a game against a rival, and good things happen. There are some guys who have gotten these deals, but they have more hype coming into them than Brownlee. So like, but what do we notice about Brownlee? He's the guy who did not make the tackle on the Hail Mary in Jacksonville State. He's a guy who gets beat. He's a guy who you see these things. So I mean, I'm not going to, as a business owner, invest my money into that guy because he's not going to give me the ROI. I think too many of these guys are thinking, and it's what the fan base has kind of said with name, image, and likeness. Nobody's giving you shit. You got to earn that. You got to earn the right to get the money. So the guys who have an NFL prospects or NFL career are going to be the guys that get NIL money. It's no different than when I played. Now, yeah, some of it was a statute of limitations is over. So money's always been in college football. You get more money. Your pockets are a little bit better when you're actually a good player and you're winning. So like, worry about going 7-5, or worry about going 8, being a contender in the ACC for the first time in 5-6 years. Stop worrying about the NIL. Worry about winning. Everything else will take care of itself. That's the attitude that they've got to run out. The money will come, but if you ain't got the wins and losses, the right wins and losses to back it, that money gonna be short term, and you ain't gonna be able to feed your family like that. One thing I hate when players say, "I want to buy my mama a house." Want to buy my mama a house. When you look at how they play, man, it look like you buying your mama a shack. Like, it's gotta show up in different ways than just talking about it.
James, I got to think, considering what the state of the program when you joined was obviously coming out of a golden age, and you guys kept it up to a certain extent and played really well, had some big campaigns, contended in the ACC, etc. You just mentioned a record, like throwing out a record, 7-5. Do you think anybody throws out a record? I would think that would be kind of a no-no, throwing out like we'd like to go 8-4. Do you want to go 8-4? Meaning you're going to concede 4 games, you're going to lose 4 games. I would think back in your day, you're thinking, no, we can win them all. Do you think these guys? Yeah, is there talk like that?
I don't think they've earned the right to talk like that. But you're right. In my day, I think we lost 4 games. My freshman and my senior year, but we still won the ACC my senior year. But we lost to teams that had those teams are going to have reunions. Like when we lost to North Carolina State, we lost to the greatest North Carolina State team in their history. Like those guys going ever like Phillip Rivers, Mario Williams, Manny Lawson. I think it was Tank. What's Tank's last name? Anyways, they had 4 first-round draft picks on the D line. Like they had some cats. Like we weren't losing to FCS schools, but I do think right now, within reason, they can go and say we got to be as good as the second-tier ACC teams, and they should have confidence beating Miami, seeing as they beat them last year with the worst team. But I do think we used to circle Florida and Miami were the only schools that we kind of went in, not necessarily worried about, but feeling like these are the only 2 teams on our schedule that have the athletes that we have. The only way we're going to lose these games is if we get out coached. And even then, we never thought about it. I share with these guys all the time, and I share with fans. I like Jeff Bowden. Jeff Bowden gave me my job. But I'm not going to lie and pretend that Jeff Bowden was the greatest offensive coordinator in Florida State history. The argument can be made that he was one of the worst. But the reality is this: when Jeff called a play, Jeff was making the money that I wanted to, so I had to make him look good. We had to make them look good. It did not really matter. Like, because the other part too, as I told them, like when you get laid out, text messaging was 40 cents a text message when I had my cell phone in college, right? You got charged whether you sent it or whether somebody sent it to you. And I never wanted to get laid out because I didn't want to have to pay that cell phone bill because everybody's going to see you. They're not going to see that JB called the wrong play. They're going to see that you, the person whose job was to execute the play, is the one who got laid out. And I think Big Three Twitter, which is fun, I think these players have gotten too involved in what the fan bases were saying with highly publicized, highly covered coaching searches and firing. So you got Jimbo. People hate Jimbo. Now they love Tag. Oh, we're going to tell me something bad about Jimbo. Tell us something. Then Tag gets fired. Oh, tell me something bad about Tag so I can. Nah, I told the players, like, you keep getting involved in this sophomorish politics that the fan base is having, you're going to find yourself being a fan way quicker than you ever wanted to be. You need to focus on the play because every play is designed to score on offense. Every play on defense is designed to stop the offense from scoring. If you do your job, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. So I think that's where you're starting to see some of these guys get out of that social media back and forth. I also tell Logan can attest. I tell these parents, stay off of it. Don't do it. Don't go on no message boards. Don't go in the discords. Don't do it. It ain't for you. It's for the fans. It's not. When you're doing good, they're gonna love you. But when you do bad, they're gonna tell you about it. And your little feelings gonna get hurt. Make plays. That's all you got to do. But I think they're getting away from that and they're starting to come in to get confidence. Once you get the confidence, and when you're on a roll, man, you don't think you could lose to anybody. And I think there are a few pieces away. And it's unfortunate that the recruiting classes haven't panned out the way they panned out. But I will say where Mike in the game made up for it a little bit in this transfer portal cycle is that they got a bunch of guys with multiple years left. So, with Verse, if Verse has a good year this year, you can expect him to be better next year because he's coming back. Some of the offensive linemen, they're coming back. They're not one-year mercenaries. So it's impossible to build a program with a bunch of one-year mercenaries. You eventually got to have guys who are going to be multiple years in here. And you know how you get your NIL deals? Ball out one year, and everybody going to give you based on the potential of the next year. So I think they got to look at it. We would love to have 7 to 8 wins. We would all love that. We don't know what that feels like to have 8 wins. When was the last time we had 8 wins? Was that 6 years ago?
16.
It got bad real quick.
Yeah, it did.
I was racking my brain that whole time, James, trying to figure out who you're talking about on that NC State team because I pride myself in remembering these guys when you said Tank, and I can't come up with that. I did come up with Jericho Cotchery was on that team. He could play.
Jericho, I didn't even mention the defensive guys, too. I mean, off of the other people. You had Jericho. You had T.A. McClendon, who a lot of people don't know, but he was one of the best running backs. Everybody talks about Maurice Claret, but T.A. McClendon was better than Maurice Claret for his 2 years that he played. There was a linebacker that they had and a DB they had. They were stacked, man. That was some fun games playing against those guys.
Logan, quarterback Chris Parson out of the 2023 class. He's a hard commit, and he's out of Tennessee, which I guess the one thing that I think of when I see a Florida State program that's been struggling, and then they get a pretty nice quarterback commit, a top 20 player at his position out of another state, I'm still thinking they got to keep recruiting him to keep him in the fold.
Yep. Now, this is definitely a stuck down commit to Florida State. And, I know Florida State fans have heard this a lot, so they won't believe me. And that's, some will believe, some won't. But, luckily we've been able to grow a good relationship with him and his family. And, he does a monthly piece with us and a diary. and he's been great. And James got to meet him too in person, and was attending the NIL panel that James and his team put together. And, he had a great visit. He was here. He spent a lot of time with Tokars. He actually got to see him coaching in person, which was huge for him. He said that he wanted to be more hands-on and get to see that. And we got to see Parson over there just kind of stuck by Tokars and the rest of the quarterbacks wherever they were going on the practice field. And that was just a big thing for him. He wanted to see how Tokars coached because they are building a really good relationship. He had a really good relationship with Kenny Dillingham too. Now he's over there at Oregon, but everything's great. The relationship is growing and getting stronger with Tokars, but he needed to see in person on how the coaching was and how he was going to be hands-on with AJ Duffy, freshman quarterback, because he told us that's how it's going to be for him whenever he arrives in January. So Parson, really good visit. He's after a variety of recruits too. That's something that every time he comes into town, he's trying to get hands-on and talk to a few recruits and do his thing, because from what he said in an interview that we put an article out this morning, he said that Coach Atkins, Coach Johnson, Norvell, they told him that this is his class, and they want him to build it, to help the staff. If there's someone that they're going after, get in their ear too as much as you can, build those relationships too. But he mentioned a few names like Keon Brown, Santana Fleming, who's a big wide receiver target, Tommy Kinsler, Lucas Simmons. There's a variety of other guys. Hakeem Williams too was also mentioned, that Florida State is really after. Darren Lawrence also. So Parsons doing a lot of off the field stuff and trying to get this class going. Definitely he wants some targets at wide receiver, and it's not going to take too much of talking. If you look at Chris Parson, his highlights, what he's been able to do against some good competition up in Tennessee, and a big season ahead for him. This is, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback in the class. And so I think Parson, great visit, good stuff. He plans on being back here for the spring game. And that's when Florida State is expected to have another, probably the most talent that they had like this last weekend will be at the spring game. And so Parson will probably try to get in and do some work. The last spring game went great. They had a lot of players in town, and, opened up some eyes to some big talent that ended up Florida State was able to put a lot of these guys, put themselves in the top 3, the top 2 one-on-one battles with some of the big programs like Alabama, Ohio State, all of Clemson, some of the big dogs right now. Florida State did a really good job at first impressions with that last spring game. They're trying to do this again next month. So great visit for Parson.
Man, he's I was thoroughly impressed by the young man. Just the way he handles some things. So quick housekeeping note. I get it. Fans short for fanatical, but you got to remember that these guys are 17 and 19 years old, man. Like you gotta stall them out. My joke that I always tell people is I went on 5 official visits and I committed 5 times because it's just difficult. They do a really good job of selling you on the school and what the school could do for you, but there is. So one of the big things that people got to realize, I tell this with my teammates too. We're all older, different places. Sometimes miscommunications can happen, or we may not like something that's going on, and fans feel like they need to chime in. And I always tell them, like, you a fan, we family. So we're going to make up, and it'll be okay. Don't get yourself messed up by joining into a conversation that you don't need to. So what does that mean for Chris Parsons? There was a miscommunication that happened, which happens in recruiting is as you're developing a relationship, and he acted like a 16, 17-year-old would act. Like, they communicate subliminally and they learn that from adults that do this as well, but social media is their voice. So he controlled his brand and his narrative, and he scrubbed a little bit of the Florida State stuff. And fan base kind of went over the top on it. And see, what happens is when you do that and you have a talent, see, this kid is wanted by everybody. Like, don't make him go run to use a marriage analogy. Like, don't make your main piece run to the side because you treating them bad. Because trust me, there's always that person in that. If you got a bad girl or bad woman, there's somebody in her DMs that say, "Oh, I can't believe he talked to you that way. I would never do that to you. I get you flowers every day. I put rose petals on." So when you're doing that, you think you're defending the program, but you're really making us look like a bunch of jerks. But even the way he handled that, like the questions that he asked at the symposium about how to do that, we exchanged numbers. I told him I don't really care where you go. I would love for you to come to Florida State. And stick around with it. I said, I can tell you, I'm a walking name, image, and likeness. If anybody wants to know how this thing works, I can let you know how it works. Because for whatever reason, Florida State's paying. I have ate more off of one touchdown against Miami in 2005 than probably anybody in this world has. Like, so trust me, I know name, image, and likeness because that's how I earn my living and take care of my family. So, but just the poise, the demeanor. And bigger than that, with these, KJ Sampson as well, as I know we talked about him, but you got to Lamont Green as well. Lamont Green Sr. is awesome.
Yep.
You got to have a good structure and support system around you. I've seen big time prospects' parents before, and I've seen the parents before I've seen the big time prospects. I did not notice his dad until me and his dad had a conversation, which means it's not that his dad isn't present. He's very present. It's just that it's not about him. It's about what can I do to put my son in the best position? What can I do to and now he can make himself. I can get that vibe. He can make himself known if you want to act like an adult to his son. Or he could just let his son learn how to have fun and ride this process out. But, just talking to him, he's a kid, man. He's a kid with an incredible gift that we need to recruit, but also remember that, man, this is a kid living his life. Because one thing that people don't realize, man, is that, and I'll probably, when me and him chop it up, off air, we'll talk about this more, is that the minute you sign that LOI, baby, each level you go is less and less fun. And it's more and more business. And enjoy being a kid. While like being an adult is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever invented. Like all you think about as a kid is, I can't wait till I'm grown. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna do this and this, and then you realize, man, you work really, really hard to do absolutely nothing. Or like you're so tired that when you go on vacation, like me, I'm the only person who will pay for a vacation to go to sleep. So like it's just like you work really, really hard to do absolutely nothing. But Parsons is I think from my conversation, what I gathered from talking to him, I think we're gonna be okay as long as we win. But again, everything is predicated on year 3. What are we going to do? I can tell you it looks better. It does. Let me rephrase it. It looks better based upon what I've seen. But I'm also know what it's supposed to be. It doesn't look like, we're going to compete for an ACC championship. I'd have to see Clemson. I'd have to see some other cats, but I don't think we're there yet. But if it doesn't relate to wins and losses, who cares? We are in the beautiful thing about football is it's not abstract. It's literally you have a winner and a loser in every football game. At the end of the season, if we are below 500, we did not get better. Or if we're 6-6, we did not get good enough. You need to be in that 8-win category or more in order to truly be back. And we've already given up the cushion that we had. And Miami's got a new staff, and you didn't jump on that this season like you should have. Florida's got a new staff. You didn't jump on that like we should have. And now what they've done a good job of is marketing the mundane. Florida and Miami have done the best job of marketing the mundane. What I want fans of Florida State to do, and I know the rivals listen to this too, go look at every Power 5 school and look at and look at you go to Seminoles.com, you can see all the sports, click on football, and you'll see everybody who's hired on football. Then I want you to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, write it down. Then I want you to go to Gators, and I want you to write. I want you to count how many people they actually have. Then I want you to go to Miami, count how. You know what you're going to find very similar? We all got the same amount of people. Just one group is marketing it better and posting about every little thing. Now, some of these jobs are ridiculous, like the director of hydration, and sugar to electrolyte ratio performance at Florida. But like, at the end of the day, that ain't nothing but that's a fancy way to say athletic trainer. Like, so I mean, like, but again, they're doing that. We're doing a good job. We just got to finally win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
phenomenal stuff from Big Game James Coleman. James, man, it was great to have you on today. Great stuff from Logan, as always. These guys make it happen, even if we've got to do it at 10 in the morning. James, I was glad that the skies opened up for you and got nice and sunny and blue.
Yeah, man. I think I got it in. I think 4 o'clock is supposed to become like Noah's Ark or something. I got to go out there and build a boat for the next 3 days. Unfortunately, this is TPC big golf tournament here in Jacksonville that I got the Mac Daddy VIP tickets to. That if it's 96, but it's a 96% chance of rain tomorrow, so I ain't gonna be out there.
James, we appreciate you. You do so much for us anytime you come on, and I know that you got a zillion things going on, and anytime you can make it, you do. So anything we can do for you, just let me know. But appreciate you being here, laying down the knowledge.
No doubt. Anytime.
Logan, same thing, man. Thanks for doing these position previews. Thanks for being here. You got so much going on. I know that you could definitely be working an extra hour or so instead of doing these every week. So I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you too. Let me hop on here. Good thing we got in here. I'm having lightning strikes right out the damn window. So luckily there it is. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, but woo, Lordy.
So you guys are
we're rattling.
Hit, huh?
We're rattling in here. So yeah, we've got nasty weather. It's coming over to James. We're giving it over to James. So,
okay.
But yeah, I appreciate you hopping on here with me too. Always being able to talk some FSU football.
Good times. All right, folks, come on back next Wednesday. We should be at our regular time at 6 Eastern time, but also keep in mind, we got to work through schedules. So we got the most people in here. We had we broke like 75 at the end. Of course, that always happens. So you know what you do. You wait for the video to post because you guys are asking questions about all sorts of stuff that Logan and James already hit on. So just wait for the video to post and check it out. Logan, yeah, try to make it through the rain and get to practice today and enjoy the rest of the week.
Appreciate it, Mark. Hope everybody has a great rest of y'all's week. See you next week.